Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with award-winning composer and guitarist Jim Robitaille. He opened up about his latest 2020 CD, Space Cycles, and a very gifted career that has seen him perform with many musicians. He talked about this new COVID-19 quarantine world we live in during the spring of no live jazz, along with so much more. So please get to know Jim and dig this interview, my friends.
Hey, Jim, thanks for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the album. I guess first and foremost, where exactly are you located on the planet now?
Where am I located?
Yes.
I'm in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Okay,
so
Massachusetts.
Close to Providence and Boston. Providence,
okay.
Rhode Island.
Which I'm sure you guys are doing. You guys are in about the same condition we are in, probably here in Kansas City with how everything's going and the lockdown and all that stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's not really been much change. Some of the schools, they had just decided to not reopen, to finish their semesters in May, which, of course, is a good decision.
Yeah. Well, again, it's quite a time in our world right now. It's probably a good time to talk a little bit about music. And I want to ask you first and foremost, you're releasing an album during a very extraordinary time of live jazz not happening. So my question is, from an artistic standpoint with this album, and then from a logistical releasing it during a quarantine, talk to me about Space Cycles.
This release is with a trio and a group that I've been working with for at least 6-7 years. And the players, bassist Bill Maeli and drummer Chris Poudre. We've worked in many configurations, freelancing, sidemen with different people, but, with this particular group, we've been together 6 or 7 years, and the record and the music that we've been playing is, my compositions and arrangements of standards and any other material we do. So it's, we wanted to document that, and it's kind of, catching up. Like I have a record I just did last year, released with my group, and it's with Dave Liebman and 2 members of his Expansions group, Alex Ritz on drums and Tony Marino, his longtime bassist. So, every release is just, furthering along, getting closer to catching up with documenting the compositions that I've written, over the years. So Space Cycles represents music that I've probably composed in the last 5-6 years, I would say. So
talk to me a little bit about your beginnings. How did you get involved with jazz? Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in New Bedford. I played, getting into guitar. I wasn't introduced to jazz music right away. I definitely played several years prior to finding out about that music through some LPs, through some albums. When I got into it, it was definitely around just getting out of junior high into high school, and at the same time I started to study classical guitar. So that's when I became immersed in listening to the music and learning that music. And at the same time, I was studying, so, everything had been coming together in regards to learning fundamentals and sight reading and music theory and everything, and not just, playing only by ear, because up to that point, that's what I had been doing, which was great, which I'm so thankful for, actually.
So when you did actually start in the beginning, were you nervous being on stage? Is it a natural place for you?
Sometimes it can be. It can be a different psychology if you're a sideman sometimes for people, or if you're leading. When I started to play professionally, I was in different groups. I was freelancing, but I was also beginning to, do performances with my own groups and with, the earlier pieces that I had been writing. So sometimes it can be, you have to get out of your own way, so to say, and you have to gain experience doing it, just like anything else, like recording is like that, right? Like you could do gigs for 20 years performances, concerts, and then you begin to record, and it can be a different psychology, to get used to for different players. So if you're doing you're playing in a room and nobody's talking and everybody's listening, then, there's more, you have to be consistent with everything. If everybody's speaking, you're in a noisy bar or something, that for some people that could be possibly they can maybe relax more. They may not be as feeling like the focus is on them as much. But the more I do it, and the more comfortable you get. To answer your question, I think as with this type of music, it's such a Zen state where you drop into the space of just being in the moment. And the minute, what I found for myself is the minute the music would start, if I was nervous, the minute the music started, it would envelop you. And you have your, if you're playing, even if you're playing solo, but if you're playing with an ensemble, trio, quartet, or whatever, then, you have that with you. And then everything disappears, maybe any kind of inner dialogue, internal dialogue that you have that's going on, and you just drop into the music. So that's been very helpful to relax and to just have the focus be on the music.
And over the years, you played with a lot of legends and luminaries, Dave Liebman, Bob Moses, Carl Berger. There's been a lot of people. What have you learned from them that's resonated throughout your career?
Yes, different things depending on the person. Some of the people, two of them you just mentioned, those were people that, I was basically fans of their music, especially, Dave Liebman. I've been listening and inspired by them. In part, I would say their artistic integrity, their ability to follow their path and stay on it, and that like as a role model, I think that's wonderful for someone that writes their own music and is an improviser, as I am. That's something that meant a lot to me. That there's other people out there doing it, and that gives you faith to continue and to base things on in your process of trying to advance with this and refine it and to develop your voice. I definitely, for me doing this later on, having played for a while, several decades, and then being able to play with people like that, I felt fairly comfortable because I had a lot of experience, so I could be comfortable playing on stage or going into the studio. And that helped a lot. But you might learn some things like in the studio, some techniques. You might, learn about, getting right to the music. There's not a lot of time to mull over things with takes or whatever for a host of reasons. They might be, due to economics or just the time you have to be in the studio, or just the fact that, the music can sort of die on the vine if you, you're going to get it in one or two takes, and much more than that can be detrimental to the spirit of the music. Playing live, same thing. I got a lot out of that, just being able to play and feel the spirit of these people and to be able to gain the confidence to know that you can play and have it go someplace with them,
Yeah. Well, you've been at this for quite a while. My question is this: if you have a dream tonight, you run into your younger self around the time that you were starting out in the music business, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, that's a cool question. I never thought about that. Let's see. What advice? Well, I would, what I've always believed and what I still believe is, you have to first, follow your heart. I believe, find something that you are passionate about, that, because that's going to, be, come from a love of doing that thing or that path that you take. And then, of course, that's going to help you to stay on that path, through difficult times, like what we're going through right now, right? Like, that very thing will always be there. So in my case, music, it's that's something you can't take away. It's always going to be there, whether in some capacity. So that's something I would tell myself, to just stay on the path and make sure your choice is a true one, that's right for you. And it's all about doing the work. It really is. You have to love that process. You have to truly love doing the work and being able to be comfortable with an independent or an alternative lifestyle, I guess. That's what they used to call it in the 60s. I don't know if they still do or not. But that type of, being, and nowadays, of course, for a long time now, really wearing a lot of hats, because, like, for myself, anyway, I do everything myself, Yeah, everything that needs to get done, I have to do it.
Yeah, right.
I do. There is a team of people. It's wonderful. The record label. They do so much, and that's and the publicity and everything. So that's thankful for that, because that definitely helps so much. But there's still a lot of things that each one of us, that's doing this independently, has to. You have to take care of that business. And, your love of it's going to allow you to do that, whether money is involved or not, at any given moment.
Yeah. So what was the first live jazz show you ever saw that made you think, man, that's what I want to do with my life?
Oh, first live jazz, one of the earlier ones was actually at the university I teach at. And it was in the 70s, Herbie Hancock's, his Headhunters group, and he had just put out the album Thrust, with the tune Butterfly and all that. So it was just so incredible. And I used to go see Rashawn Roland Kirk, and that I got to see him 3 or 4 times, and that was amazing. Yeah. There's many, I used to see Joe Pass solo. I'm just thinking back on some of the earlier ones that you asked. I saw Paul Bley where I teach. I saw Sam Rivers with Dave Hall, and those jump out as ones that I probably saw, like, in the 70s, like really before I was doing gigs,
Well, we're obviously in a very extraordinary time that we may never see again. It's very unique, and it's the whole globe. But my question, the world of arts has been hit really hard, especially jazz. The music is silent for the first time, probably in our collective memory. And my question is, we're going to get to the end of this. We're going to get back to a live venue. We're going to get to that live environment. What do you hope? What realizations do you hope both musician and the crowd gets from this when we return?
Well, this is, it already is, like, transformational, right? And it's going to continue to be, however we evolve out of this. I think I'm really hoping that there'll be, an elevated or rejuvenated interest in live music. Maybe people will, you always have the fans that were coming out and doing it anyway. People that's genuinely a part of their life. They go out and they hear music. I know people like that, and you see them. I'm hoping that there's a renewed interest in all art disciplines for people to come out and support it and realize that difference between experiencing it in sort of like a virtual reality, and then actually being able to get out and and supporting it and embracing it in actual reality. Whether that's a concert venue or an art gallery. I have a CD release for this new CD is coming out tomorrow. Actually, that's the official release date. And so I have a release concert set for the end of June, and that's still, the ticket link is still up. We'll see. I don't know. We just have to take this day by day, week by week. So I'm hoping that, in a lot of ways, not just in music and the arts, but just, the ecology, everything like that. I'm just hoping that it'll help people in a positive way to just support these things that are a very important part of culture, right?
So my final question to you is this. Everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your students, your fans, but you're living your life. Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? Wow. Well, I am definitely, as a person, I am definitely someone that is, I've come to learn this about myself. I am a very supportive, compassionate person. I have a very good work ethic. And I have definitely learned a lot about myself through the, solitary time that you take, studying music. And then, of course, the communal aspects of performing music, and recording music and sharing that with audiences and getting that energy back. So that's been a great teacher, and I think vice versa, the two feed each other. So it's been a great vehicle because, with music, I think when you receive it as a listener and as as a musician, as someone who plays it, it really wakes up, it taps into so many aspects of the brain, right? As they say, like education, like, keep music in the schools and everything because it's a wonderful thing for children. For their brain, just the activity, because you're dealing with all those different parts, the more intuitive side, the emotional aspects of it, and then the intellectual, the thinking state. So all these things get developed, and I think that's something I can look at, what I've learned about myself and how it's helped me in regards to what I've learned from music. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. That's another good question, man.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah, no, that's good.
It's easy with the answer.
No, and there's never, that's kind of like one of those essay questions on a big research paper. It's like, did I answer that? And you know what? There's no length. It's all about girth and substance, and that was beautiful, man. Jim, thanks for taking a minute to talk about the music and this very unique, surreal world we live in, the new world, new America. And stay safe out there.
You too. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate this. And thanks for your show and everything. That's great. It's so supportive for everyone.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the globe, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Jim for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends, and please support the arts.
Neon Jazz.